Welcome to today's episode of CIO WaterCooler TV. Today, I'm very lucky to be joined by Reem Zahran from Vistra. You're the CIO there. How are you this morning?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, David.
I'm saying this morning, I'm looking at the time, it's actually 10 past 2, which tells me everything that we need to know about today already. Anyway, nearly the weekend. By way of introduction, could you tell us a little bit about the organisation that you work for and your role there?
Yes. So I work at Vistra. We're a financial services company offering various services in that space around trust, fiduciary, etc. And I am the CIO there, reporting into our chief executive. And we are working through really transforming the company based on, our history has been the company's been built through acquisition. So very, very numerous acquisitions over several years. And our task really is to move us into a harmonized, standardized way of working with some more compelling solutions for our clients.
Everyone's talking about transformation.
Yes.
Let's actually explore what that really means, because I think it's one of those words that's been bandied around a lot over the last year, which makes sense. A lot of organizations going through a huge amount of change. But when we're talking about it, what first of all does it really mean to you?
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's a bit like agile, but we'll talk. So transformation at Vistra and what we're trying to achieve is really moving us from this fragmented state into a sort of a one company view, but with a regional, so still maintaining the regional significance, because obviously regulators, we have a lot of compliance to adhere to, etc. So it's really harmonizing as much as possible the estate, so both software and hardware, and our ways of working. So there's the technical piece, and there's the operational piece, and looking at how we can maximize our efficiency. Of course, we're private equity backed, so you imagine that's important, but also becoming more competitive through our digital solutions for our clients. Because, traditionally we're a professional services company, very people-based. So it's looking at how do we bring technology to, provide more compelling services for our clients and more contemporary solutions for them, as well as keeping that very specific professional services for how we offer more value to them. So the advisory and making sure that we look at all of our alternative investments and so on for our clients.
So just to jump in, when you talk about client solutions, obviously their technology is directly impacting the business itself. It would be quite interesting to find out how you get IT and tech to be perceived by the business in the way that you want it to be.
Yeah, that's always tricky. And how we've done it so far. So IT, because of our history and how we've been fragmented, when I started it over 2 years ago, I had to pull the team together from a fragmented landscape and rebuild it almost. And I actually rebranded it to technology for two reasons. Number one, to differentiate between keeping the lights on and having what I'll call IT operations, so keeping the business running. And also adding a key point that technology also offers business solutions for our clients and for our actual colleagues, so internally and externally. So I sort of structured it to improve our colleague experience, improve the client experience, and stabilize the business. So that's how we've done it. So that was the key part. The second piece was introducing a co-ownership model for platforms. And we introduced platforms against our enterprise architecture for the business. And the key difference here is that we have a technology owner for a platform and an operations owner for a platform. So that co-ownership model actually helps us in many ways. The first one is to address our technical debt. So if we look at our application portfolio, we've got all of these fragmented applications, people using them in different ways locally. So it's looking at harmonizing that. And of course, reducing our technical debt. Then the second piece is actually retaining the knowledge within both technology and operations on how we run our technology moving forward. Because that's been a core challenge over the years, and through the acquisitions, we've lost a lot of knowledge. And, we've had to sort of patch it together with different ways of working. So it's really harmonizing our ways of working, underpinned by the right systems where needed. And so that's been sort of the internal shift, if that makes sense.
You talk about people using the apps differently.
So
I think that's an interesting point very quickly, because if I think about the organization I work in, we had Teams for a long time before the pandemic, but no one used it.
That's right.
And I think that's probably a fairly common experience, and it must be a frustrating one for people in technology. So I imagine the pandemic has made it easier to get people to understand why adopting new technology is important.
Yes.
But maybe that's slightly naive. Maybe we'll come out the other side of this and you'll be faced with the same challenges. Has it made it a bit easier, certainly in the short term, or how do you make sure that an organization retains that perspective of, we're all digital consumers at home, why can't we be in the office?
Yeah, I think okay, so a couple of things on that. It did, despite the pandemic and rolling out, we had quite a steep hill to climb with rolling out a working from home approach very quickly. So we managed to do that in a few weeks, but it took us longer to move everyone to Teams. As an example, we had Zoom, Blue Jeans, all sorts of things happening, WebEx, the usual plethora. But actually that was a top-down shift in behavior, because once we convinced the CEO to start having all of his meetings in Teams, it became a sort of, part of the culture. So now we're fully on MS Teams as part of our agreement anyway with Microsoft. But what we found was we had a particular challenge with regulations changing around EU substance. And there, last year, we actually built a new offering for our clients. So part out of necessity and part out of this digital need. So it took us a while, it took us a few months to really convince the business teams that this digital solution where the client is almost self-serving, whereas before they would actually have to call a human and do it more manually, was quite a big challenge. And to your point, even though we're actual digital consumers on, everything we use personally at home or, in our private lives, for some reason there was this resistance, and we've managed to break through. And actually within a month of it going live, we've had 98% of clients on it. So it's been quite a big success. And they've, the teams have actually seen the benefits internally and from the client angle. So we're moving into that direction, really.
I want to ask one last quick question. We are running short on time, so I'm afraid it's going to have to be a quick one. But you've talked a lot about ops. You talked about clients. In terms of a CIO, how do you find the balance between finance, ops, and clients, and trying to keep everybody happy?
Oh, I'm not sure I keep everyone happy. But it's part of the change story versus run. And I found that when I'm clearer about, okay, if we either have to do this to keep the business running or for compliance reasons or for security, people tend to sort of understand that. When it comes to changing and optimizing how we're working, either with our colleagues or our clients, it's a slightly bigger challenge, because it does include some OPEX cost and some CAPEX cost, of course, on the finance side. So I'm always keeping our CFO calm on the money. But we've managed to do that better in the last year, with being more precise about where the money's being spent and why. And then operations, it's really that platform model, that co-ownership, because our problem is their problem and vice versa, that we've had to really collaborate and partner with operations to really move the dial, because tech by itself just won't achieve it.
Reem, I really appreciate you giving up some time and spending a few minutes talking to us today.
Thank you so much, David.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of CIO WaterCooler TV. If you have, stick around on the website. There's plenty more content.